It's perfect, Maya. Maybe too perfect. The words echoed in the conference room, colder than the glass I was staring through. The design I'd poured 2,000 hours of work, sleep, and sanity into had just been rejected.
The reason wasn't a technical flaw or a miscalculation. It was because it lacked one thing: a soul. My obsession with creating a flawless structure had accidentally suffocated the life within it. I had built a magnificent tomb instead of a home.
That night, I came face to face with my own golden error, the belief that perfection would shield me from criticism. But in the end, it had become the cruelest critic of all. This is the story of how I learned to break perfection to find greatness.
Perfectionism isn't about the drive to be excellent. It's a defense mechanism rooted in fear. The fear of being judged, the fear of not being good enough. For me, it started in childhood with the belief that love and acceptance were things to be earned through flawless achievement. That lie grew up with me. It morphed into a ruthless inner manager, scrutinizing every sketch, every line of code, every choice of word. "Not good enough," it would whisper. "Do it again. Make it perfect." The cost was countless sleepless nights and strained relationships I'd neglected for my work. Procrastination became my closest companion. It sounds paradoxical, but perfectionists are often master procrastinators. Why? Because if you can't start perfectly, the brain would rather not start at all. The fear of ruining a clean slate is greater than the fear of not finishing. I lived in a binary world, 100% or 0%, absolute success or catastrophic failure. There was no room for experimentation, for beautiful mistakes, for growth. On my desk sat a broken piece of ceramic, a reminder of a failed project I couldn't bear to throw away. I hated looking at it.
After the failed presentation, I returned to my empty office. The emptiness was crushing. The golden error had betrayed me. I gave it everything, and it left me with a creation that was technically perfect, but emotionally bankrupt. In a flash of anger and frustration, I swept my hand across my desk, and the broken ceramic piece fell to the floor. I sank to the floor, staring at the shattered fragments. But then, a memory surfaced. A trip to Japan years ago. An old master carefully mending a broken bowl with lacquer mixed with powdered gold. He called it Kintsugi. "We don't hide the cracks," he had said. "We celebrate them. They are part of the story." That was my epiphany. My whole life, I had been trying to hide and erase every crack. I believed perfection was the absence of flaws. But the truth, embodied in that Kintsugi bowl, was the exact opposite. True strength and beauty lie in acknowledging, mending, and even celebrating the breaks. I didn't sleep that night, but this time it wasn't from anxiety, it was from inspiration. I opened the design file. I looked for the building's crack, the rigidity, the perfect symmetry. And then I did something the old me would never have dared. I broke it on purpose. I carved out an asymmetrical courtyard, fracturing the facade with a lush, vertical garden. It was no longer mathematically perfect. It was alive. It had a beautiful scar, a place for people to connect. It had a soul. This was my first step in applying the 80% rule. The 80% rule is simple.
Aim to do 80% of the work excellently and accept the remaining 20% as room for imperfection, for iteration, and most importantly, for done. It's permission to stop. I resubmitted the revised design, not knowing what they would think, but for the first time, feeling free.
Days later, I got the call. They loved it. They loved how the garden interrupted the perfection, how it invited life in. The golden error taught me that chasing 100% often leaves us stuck at 0%. By embracing 80%, I had actually achieved 100% of something else, a meaningful, authentic result.
The blueprint for overcoming perfectionism isn't a checklist, it's a mindset shift. Step 1, identify your golden error. What's the lie it's telling you? Step 2, apply the 80% rule. Give yourself permission to be done, not perfect.
And step 3, the most important, start your own Kintsugi collection. Every mistake, every failure, every flaw isn't a mark of weakness. It's an opportunity to add a line of gold to your story. That broken ceramic now sits on my desk, mended. It is my most beautiful and powerful symbol.
True greatness isn't found in hiding the cracks. It's found in turning them to gold. Don't be afraid of your breaks. They are where the light gets in and where real growth begins.